last unit we talked about threatened and endangered species. But today, in this unit, we're going to talk about kind of something that contributes to that. And I alluded to that in the last little mini lesson. So if you can see this picture, guess what we're going to talk about? Population. Human population. The craziness of the human population. But anyways, let me just state, we're nearing the end. The end of the block. Not necessarily the end of the world because of human population, but I did want to just tell you that we only have a couple of units left, so bear with my mini lessons because we're almost there. Alright, so I want you guys to watch something real quick, okay? I'm going to change the screen, and I want you to see what's happening here. And I'm not sure if you have a link to this in your unit, but this is actually a website that I visited before. It's actually worldometers.info, okay? And what it's showing is the current world population, and you can see it ticking away, increasing. I had this going yesterday, and this is already increased by, I don't know, probably 500,000 in one day. The world population. Look at the population growth today. Here's the births. The deaths, much slower than obviously the births. Much, the rate is half, or I shouldn't say the rate, but the number is half of this number. And the rate actually could be about half as well. The net population growth today, and then you can look at this year. Births this year, 48 million. The deaths, only 20 million. And then the net population growth. So it's pretty crazy. Here's our world population. We're over 7 billion people, okay? And you can just see those numbers climbing. And what's going to stop that from climbing? Well, not a lot at this point. So let's come back to that. But I just wanted you guys to kind of think about that. And let's go back to kind of some thoughts. So here are some things I want you to brainstorm in your head, because you're going to be actually putting these into words, your thoughts into words, when you go to do your discussion. You have a discussion this unit, and that discussion is going to kind of revolve around your thoughts from these questions. What do you think when you see those numbers climbing? Is that kind of alarming to you, or are you kind of like, ooh, yay, that's exciting, or holy cow, I don't know about that. So I want you guys to think about why. What are your emotions towards that? Does that concern you at all? Are you still kind of in your own world where you're like, whatever, it's not affecting me necessarily directly, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I want you to think about your thoughts when you see that world population just going up and up and up, okay? So keep those thoughts in mind. You're going to be doing a discussion where you actually have to post your discussion. So I want you guys to actually think about that, and then you're going to write your thoughts down, and you're going to respond to each other. You're not only going to write your own thoughts down, you have to respond to at least one other person to get your credit for that. Now, the next thing you're looking at, exponential growth. Yes, it's called exponential growth because look at this population graph. This is the world population, billions of people. So basically this is time. These are, 200 basically AC, and then all the way up to the year 2000 here, and we're, obviously past that. This is in the 1800s, but basically you can see that you have the steady growth kind of moving upwards, but then all of a sudden you have this exponential growth. Think about exponents, okay? Exponential growth is kind of like, you can hardly keep track of it because it's such this overflow of population. So that's what our human population looks like over the last, 200 years, okay, is exponentially growing. Kind of crazy. Now you have this in your unit, so make sure you kind of take a look at this. This is the timeline of human population growth. Same kind of graph here, but you can see what's happening. The old Stone Age, the new Stone Age, and it talks about those in your unit, so make sure you kind of click on there and you listen to what's going on. You can listen or read. The Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Middle Ages, and then basically where we have right here is kind of modern times. So it's interesting just to think of this growth and then how it exponentially grows, mostly due to a lot of industrial reasons, the ways that we're able to use things these days. So obviously there's a reason behind some of that exponential growth, but also there are some things that we could control, that we need to worry about, because that human population growth can, like we talked about in the last lesson, it can cause a lot of harmful things to other species. Take, for instance, threatened and endangered species due to basically our habitat destruction. We're destroying their habitats because of our population, okay? So human impacts, holy cow. The size of our population is absolutely taking a toll on our world. And I'll go into some different things. But before that, let's watch a quick video. It's, a couple minutes long, but kind of points out some pretty interesting things. So
every day we are faced with a plethora of different problems as humans. However, there is one crisis in our world today that is often overlooked. The scary part of it is that the 7 billion people overlooking the problem could be the cause of it. A little over 200 years ago, the human population on planet Earth was 1/7 of what it is today. Currently, there is an estimated 7 billion people on Earth. With the population growing by approximately 74 million a year, that number could be as high as 11 billion in 2050. In fact, from 2005 to 2050, the 9 following countries are expected to account for half of the world's projected population increase: India, Pakistan, Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Bangladesh, Uganda, the United States, Ethiopia, and China. Today, there are 5.3 billion people living in developing nations, and that number is expected to increase to 7.8 billion in 2050. Much of this growth can be attributed to lack of birth control. By contrast, the population of more developed regions of the planet will remain mostly unchanged, with the exception of the United States, which is expected to grow by 44% in that time span. So what's the big concern with the overpopulation crisis? Overpopulation is not only defined by the size or density of a population, but also by the ratio of population to available sustainable resources. It can also be characterized by the way the resources are used and distributed throughout the population. Overpopulation is creating a number of real-world concerns. This short list includes lack of renewable and non-renewable resources, diminishing sustainable food and fresh water supplies, growing disease, epidemics, overcrowding, and environmental pollution. More specifically, water pollution causes approximately 14,000 deaths per day, mostly due to contamination of drinking water by untreated sewage in developing countries. In China alone, 656,000 people die prematurely each year because of air pollution, while in India, air pollution is believed to cause 527,000 fatalities a year. Up to 90% of West Africa's coastal rainforests have disappeared since the 1900s. It has been estimated that about half of Earth's mature tropical forests have been lost to deforestation since 1947. On average, humans consume 388 million barrels of oil a day for fuel, food production, and millions of petroleum-based plastic products. To put that into perspective, the amount of oil released into the ocean during the duration of the BP Gulf of Mexico oil spill was estimated at roughly 4.9 million barrels. In short, this means the more people that you add to our ecosystem, the more strained, sensitive, and volatile it will become. As humans, we often revert to human nature. It is easier to blame someone else or look elsewhere to solve our overpopulation problems, rather than looking within ourselves. Maybe Albert Einstein was right. The problems that exist in the world today cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created them.
Okay, so something just to think about. I thought those were pretty eye-opening kind of concepts to think about what overpopulation is doing. We don't think about that stuff. We don't think about the future of what that looks like, okay? So one thing, you guys have all heard of global warming, where basically you have these greenhouse gases that are trapped within the atmosphere. And the greenhouse gases are, some of them are natural, but a lot of them are produced because of what we do and how we manufacture things and different things, that the way that we're polluting our air increases those greenhouse gases, which basically creates this blanket where heat can come in, like solar rays from the sun can come in, but they can't escape. So therefore, we're kind of causing this it's kind of gradual, but a warming of our globe, okay? And that's why you hear a lot about the ice caps melting and the polar bears that are becoming endangered because they're having to swim so long to get to stable land, okay? So that's one of the reasons, overpopulation, we're contributing to that. Deforestation. Look at this picture here. It's hard to tell because it's pretty small, But you have this line of forest, and then this entire area here has been basically chopped down and will be used for, building and different things, industries. So all of this deforestation is cutting back on the habitat of many different species of animals. Also, trees and plants do us good. And if we cut those down, we're actually polluting our air more because plants clean our air. And they produce oxygen for us, fresh oxygen. So you can just see kind of what that does when it just gets worse and worse as, we continue to grow. And then natural disasters, not necessarily that, overpopulation is going to cause more natural disasters, but think when these natural disasters happen, they're actually affecting so many more people now because the population has grown so much. So some of these natural disasters that may have hit areas that were once not populated, now they're heavily populated, and you're seeing these huge devastating amounts of death and destruction. Okay, so again, just due to our overpopulation. So that's about it. Some more things to think about. Again, I love this block because this is really hopefully educating you guys on kind of what's going on in our world and some ways that we can hopefully take action and put a halt to some of these things that could be really making an interesting future for us. Okay, so there you have it.